Welcome to City Roundup, brought to you by the City of Pensacola. With your host, Saida Rosa. City Roundup is your one-stop shop for everything having to do with the City of Pensacola. And now, Saida.
Good morning and happy Friday, Pensacola. Thanks for joining us for another episode of City Roundup. I'm your host, Saida Rosa. A downtown picture is getting spruced up thanks to the hard work of a local Boy Scout. Mayor Grover Robinson met with the Boy Scout and told reporters during his weekly press conference about the project.
So I want to give a big appreciation to Zach Panici. He is working for his Boy Scout Eagle Scout badge, and he's been doing the repainting of the Frisco locomotive 1355. That's somehow, I don't know how it got to the middle of the garden, but it does not appear that it's moving, so we have to keep that thing up to date, and I really appreciate him. I know he organized. He had several military folks there as well, Marines and people from the Navy base that were doing a part of that. Again, like I said before, it's there, and we have to take care of it from Parks and Rec. So we really appreciate Zach and want to give him a thank you.
We're already halfway through summer. The good news is our Parks and Recreation Department has fun activities planned for your kids' after-school care. On this week's episode, hosts John Scanlon and Allie Norton give us details on the programming and how to sign up. They also discuss the changes coming to the Pensacola Bay Bridge and give us a rundown of upcoming events.
Hello, and thanks for joining us for another episode of Our City News Show. I'm John Scanlon.
And I'm Allie Norton, filling in for Tanya Vanen. And we are at the Fricker Resource Center because now that we are halfway through summer, it's time to start thinking about signing your kids up for after-school care.
Summer always ends too soon.
It does, but the good news is our programs are jam-packed with fun activities and lots of learning. Fricker Resource Center here is one of the host locations. We also have programming at Cobb, Gold Point, and Woodland Heights Resource Centers. Our programming offers activities that build healthy and happy kids through active play, fitness and sports, dance and drama instruction, computer exploration, and STEAM activities. New this year, the YMCA of Northwest Florida will offer their after-school programming at the Vickery Resource Center as part of the city's land swap agreement. For more information, dates, pricing, and registration, visit playpensacola.com.
Drivers, get ready. Changes are coming to the traffic flow of the Pensacola Bay Bridge. Eastbound traffic, which is Pensacola to Gulf Breeze, will shift to the newly constructed bridge on Sunday, July 28th. Westbound traffic, which is Gulf Breeze to Pensacola, will shift to the new bridge on Thursday, August 1st. It is important to note that between July 28th and August 1st, 17th Avenue will close to through traffic between Gregory Street and the railroad overpass. Drivers will be detoured.
Well, congratulations are in order for two City of Pensacola employees. We just celebrated our June and July Employees of the Month. We'd like to recognize Tara Spencer with the Pensacola Police Department for being named Employee of the Month for June. We would also like to recognize Emily LeSean with Human Resources for being named Employee of the Month for July. Congratulations to you both.
We would also like to congratulate Reverend John Powell, who earned a national recognition for engaging with children in learning and fun. Imagination Playground, based out of Rhode Island, named Powell a 2019 Summer Block Champion. According to the official news release, the Block Champion sees the possibility for building towers and trains while building the 21st century skills of communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. Congratulations, Reverend Powell.
Well, before we go, we have some events for you to add to your calendar of fun. Bay Bridge Band will take Hunter Amphitheater at Community Maritime Park on July 28th to grace the crowd with their classic rock songs. It's part of our Blues Angel Music Blues on the Bay concert series. Concert begins at 6. Finally, if you plan to come to our yoga classes at Community Maritime Park in August and September, please note they will start at 9 a.m. to beat the heat. We offer free yoga classes on the first Sunday every month, led by certified instructors from Breathe Yoga and Wellness Center.
That's all we have for you on this episode of Our City News Show. We thank you for watching, and we will see you next week.
He has the best of both worlds. As a private pilot and a former law enforcement officer, Carter Mansfield couldn't have found a better fit than as the operations officer at Pensacola International Airport. Carter starts his day before most because it's his job to make sure the airfield is good to go before the first plane takes off. Learn more about Carter's passion for his work in this episode of City Spotlight.
Ops 2 AOC.
Hey.
What do you show for the next air carrier arrival?
Delta at 12:36, followed by American at 12:37.
10-9. Started in law enforcement after college, went to the University of Florida. Following that, I started my law enforcement career in Gainesville. Worked for 2 different departments there as a uniform patrol, and then went on to the federal government and law enforcement for them. A little bit of a sad story. Father got sick, had to come back home and help. I saw the vacancy announcement for a dispatcher position in the Airport Operations Center, so I applied and got the job. I've been with the airport and the city for 5 years. Hi, I'm Carter Mansfield, Operations Officer, Pensacola International Airport. So I started in dispatch, and then I moved over to the badging section, where I was there for approximately a year, and then an operations officer opening appeared, and I applied and got it. Well, my morning begins around 4:15. I get here, find out what has transpired over the evening from the dispatchers, and then I start my morning inspection at 4:30. All right, so right now we've got a complaint of a piece of concrete near Gate 9 that is possibly coming apart, which is not good. So we're gonna go take a look at it and see what we have to do to fix it. So everything's got to be inspected, all the surfaces, runways, taxiways, connectors, and the ramps, and then all the airfield lighting, signs, obstruction lighting, all has to be verified as working. If it's not working, then we have to put in work orders for maintenance to fix it. And then we also deal with security in the building and security around the entire airfield. Obviously, you know, in law enforcement, you have to be very cognizant of your surroundings and security. So that carried over well into this job. Also, I am a private pilot, so I've been flying for a long time. My dad was in the Navy, he was a pilot in the Navy, kind of encouraged me to take on, get a private pilot rating, which I did. Throughout my law enforcement career, I was always heavily involved with our air wing. So if we had helicopters or fixed wing aircraft, I would always be the spotter or run the infrared camera, the FLIR camera system. So I've been involved with aviation for a long time.
For more episodes of our City Spotlight and news show, visit our YouTube channel. Search City of Pensacola. We'll be right back after this.
Natural gas homes are in demand. Here's what home builders have to say.
The natural gas cooking, as well as the fireplace and the atmosphere that you have on a really nice, well-designed lanai, you can entertain real well. It's very comfortable. People are real homey there. And we find the lanai to be a real design feature, along with having the natural gas to implement that.
Natural gas from Pensacola Energy, the clean, reliable, earth-friendly choice.
Natural gas dryers may cost a little more than electric ones, but they dry clothes quicker, making them cost half as much to run. So now who's getting taken to the cleaners? Learn more at PensacolaEnergy.com.
We now turn to our green tip of the week. When washing clothes, use warm or cold water. When you don't use hot water, you can use less energy. Also, if your machine has a load setting, choose low. It uses less water and your load will come out just as clean. Would you like to be a part of the team at the City of Pensacola? We have a number of openings and we're looking for great candidates to fill them. This week's featured job is for a sanitation equipment operator. The person who fills this position will be responsible for the operation of moderately complex sanitation-related equipment, which may include vehicles used to collect yard trash, bulk waste, and routes throughout the city. Go to PensacolaCityJobs.com to find out what positions we're looking to fill. You can also sign up for notifications to hear about jobs as soon as they're posted. Some food for thought for your Friday, and this episode of Coastal Cooking presents Quick Bites. Host John Scanlon from Pensacola Energy shows us how to use natural gas to make crab and crawfish cakes.
On this episode of Coastal Cooking presents Quick Bites, we're making crab and crawfish cakes. Stick around and find out how it's done.
Welcome to Coastal Cooking Quick Bites, brought to you by Pensacola Energy.
Welcome to Coastal Cooking presents Quick Bites. I'm your host, John Scanlon, and we have a very special guest today. We have our marketing coordinator, Maria Stolfi, and she's picked a recipe out of the Fiesta Seafood Cookbook, The Taste of Pensacola. What are you cooking for us today, Maria?
I'm making crab and crawfish cakes. So let's get started, right? So, of course, start off with turning your burner on. Go with a medium-high heat because you want to start with your butter first. Go ahead and let that melt completely. So then you're going to put in your peppers, red, yellow, and your celery. Now those are going to get tender completely. And And you'll know whenever your peppers start to smell. That is the best way you'll know.
So basically you're just cooking them down.
Yes, of course. So add in your peppers and your celery. Just mix that in.
And that's about 2 tablespoons worth of each?
Yeah, 2 tablespoons of each. And right now it kind of seems like a lot for crab cakes. But when you mix everything together, you'll see that it's not a lot. And at the end, it does add a little bit of crunch to your crab cakes. And it doesn't take a lot to have them cook down. If you're kind of in a hurry, just turn up the heat a little bit. If you like a little bit of extra crunch to your cakes, don't let the vegetables cook as long. So once these cook down just a little bit, then you'll add your Old Bay seasoning and your blackening seasoning. Now you can add any type of blackening seasoning. Some people like Tony Satcher's. My favorite is Slap Your Mama. I just like saying it, but it is my specialty. So you'll add your blackening seasoning and your Old Bay. The Old Bay is gonna bring out the extra flavor in the seafood when you add that later. And when you mix it in, it is gonna feel like you're stirring around sand with your with your vegetables. That is completely normal. When I first made this recipe, I thought it was a little weird. But just stir it around, it's completely normal. And make sure it evenly coats all the veggies that are in there. Once it's evenly coated, go ahead and add your shrimp stock. Shrimp stock is kind of hard to find. You can also substitute it for fish stock or lobster stock. And this is about 1/4 cup. So that will deglaze a little bit. It will kind of kick back at you. So let that cook for about a minute. And this is a very different way of cooking crab cakes. Usually when you cook crab cakes, you just kind of mix everything into a mixing bowl at first. So this is a very different way of cooking it with a little bit of a wetter way to mix it. But once we get into the mixing part, you will see the crab cakes kind of form together. So once this is done kind of cooking, then you'll add your seafood, which is lump crab and your crawfish, also known as crawdaddies. Shout out to Jim. So throw that in there. And then you'll mix that around. Make sure that the seasoning is coated completely with your crab. The crawfish will have its own flavor of spice, but make sure that the crab meat is completely coated in your seasoning. Smells good, doesn't it?
It smells excellent. So are the peppers already tender, or is it just kind of still cooking? Or
they're definitely tender now. Mm-hmm. And like I said, if you wanted a little bit of extra crunch to your crab cake, go ahead and just throw the peppers in and just start throwing in your blackening seasoning and everything. Some people like a little crunch to their crab cakes, and sometimes you want them a little bit softer. Mm-hmm. And like I said earlier, this is on about medium-high heat.
Throw that over some rice and we're good, right?
Exactly. This is a very good mixture. Okay, so once this is simmered down a little bit, we're going to turn down the heat to simmer. You can turn it completely off because we're going to add it into the mixing bowl, which it doesn't really specify in the recipe. It just says to cool a little bit. So I put it in the mixing bowl, kind of figured that out the hard way at first. So we're going to add that into the mixing bowl. Put it back on the burner. The good thing about cooking with gas is that you can really control your heat. So now we have it in our mixing bowl. add the panko. And then it says to lightly beat your egg. Of course, when you mix it together, you're lightly beating your egg. So we're just gonna fold in your panko and your egg. So as you're mixing it, it's gonna cool down a little bit so you can actually form your cakes. If your mixture is a little bit wet, you can always add more panko crumbs. The recipe calls for a cup, but if it's a little bit wet, you see that the cakes aren't gonna stick, just add more panko. Now egg is like the glue for cooking. So now that it's sticking together, roll up those sleeves and now you're ready to make your cakes. So depending on how you like your cakes made, it calls for 3. You can always, 3 is like a little bit big, but depending on your crowd, you can make them smaller. So I always like to start off, because I'm full Italian, so you can start off with a meatball and kind of flatten them out and make them into a disc, just like that. And flatten them out and make them into a disc. Just like so.
Excellent.
Then you can put them back onto your skillet.
Now, do you want that on simmer or do you want a little higher? Or?
Well, right now, since you're trying to control your heat and make your disc, you can put them on simmer.
Okay. My
chef in culinary school always taught me, if you're not really paying attention to your pot, always start your gas off on simmer. It's where you're not paying attention to it, keep it on simmer, it's not really cooking. Then whenever you're ready to watch it again, crank up the heat. And the tighter you make your crab cakes, the more they're gonna stick together. So don't be afraid to put your muscle into it.
Look like hamburgers.
Right? Now panko crumbs compared to breadcrumbs are a little bit more crunchier. So if you ever forget to go to the grocery store and forget your panko crumbs, your breadcrumbs are gonna be tasting more like a hamburger than a panko crumb. All right. So now that I'm paying attention, I'm gonna crank up the heat a little bit more. All right, now we got the heat turned up just a little bit more. We're about to flip these puppies over. You really just want to keep them about 2 to 3 minutes on each side, depending how big your crab cake is. So you can just hold it on one side and just flip it over. And really, whenever you're about to flip it over, just make sure you're pressing it down just a little bit, because you really want that inside to be cooked all the way through. You don't want it hard on the outside corners and then mushy in the inside. Now that the heat is up, just give them about 2 to 3 minutes on one side, and then just make sure you secure, and then we're gonna go ahead and flip them over and just pat them down on one side, because you wanna make sure that they're well cooked in the middle. You don't wanna leave them super mushy in the middle. So just almost like a Krabby Patty. All right, there we go. 2 to 3 minutes on each side. Flatten them down.
So we're 2.5 minutes away from plating these things.
Exactly. And they're smelling really good too. All right, now these are ready. So go ahead and pick your favorite plate in the house. And these are ready. Now if you have like a house specialty remoulade sauce, go ahead and serve that up, or however you want to do it.
They look fantastic, Marie, and this recipe was found in the Fiesta Seafood Cookbook, A Taste of Pensacola. That's a cookbook with 25 years of history from the Fiesta Seafood Grill at the Pensacola Seafood Festival. That's where local chefs have all put their time and energy in preparing foods for everybody. And they put the recipes in this book, and you can buy it for $15 All the proceeds go to the Escambia Utility Assistance Program to help the elderly pay their utility bills. Give us a call, 850-436-5050. Pick yours today, and you can be making crawfish and crab cakes very soon.
This has been Coastal Cooking Quick Bites, brought to you by Pensacola Energy.
That's all we have for this episode of City Roundup. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you same place, same time next week.
This has been City Roundup with Saida Rosa. City Roundup is the City of Pensacola's one-stop shop for everything having to do with Pensacola. Join us again each Friday at 8 a.m. for more of City Roundup.